Good evening, football fans. Big Al here on this Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. And welcome back to part two of the week that was. Let's look at the rest schedule. The Super Bowl 57 rematch from Monday Night Football with the Eagles and the Chiefs. Also coming up are my Week 12 power rankings and the updated playoff standings. So with that, let's continue with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the San Francisco 49ers, in which Niners end up winning this game by a final score of 27-14. We'll begin with the individual numbers for the 49ers. First, Brock Purdy, 21-25, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a perfect quarterback rating of 150.3. He becomes the third 49ers quarterback to have a perfect passer rating in a game. Of course, last time that happened was Steve Young and Joe Montana back in 1989. All right. Purdy ran 4 times 14, averaged 3.5 yards per run. Christian McCaffrey, 21 rushes, 78 yards, 3.7 yards per rush. Elijah Mitchell, 4 for 24, he averaged 6 yards per run. As far as receivers, Brandon Ayuk, 5 catches, 156 yards, and a touchdown on 6 targets, averaged 31.2 yards per catch. George Kittle, 8 for 89 yards and a touchdown on 9 targets, averaged 11.1 yards per grab. Deebo Samuel, 3 catches, 3 yards on 4 targets. He averaged 21 yards per catch. And Christian McCaffrey, 5 catches, 25 yards on 5 targets, and a touchdown. He averaged 5 yards a catch. Jake Moody, 2 for 2 on field goals. His longest was 37, and 3 for 3 on extra points. Wisnowski, 3 punts, averaging 51 yards a punt. His longest was 60. Fred Warner led the San Francisco defense with 10 tackles, half a sack, 1 forced fumble, and 2 passes defended. Ward had 8 tackles and 2 passes defended. Greenlaw had 4 tackles, half a sack, and 2 passes defended. Javon Hargrave, 2 tackles. Brown had 2 tackles, 3 passes defended, and an interception. And Gibson had 2 tackles and a pass defensed. Armstead, 2 tackles and a sack. Young also with 2 tackles and a sack for the 49ers. Now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield, 29-45, 246 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, quarterback rating of 76.7, 3 rushes for 5 yards. White ran 9 times for 30 yards and a touchdown, 3.3 yards per run. Tompkins, 1 rush, 17 yards. Edmonds, 4 rushes, 8 yards. And Palmer, 1 rush for 6 yards. Cade Otton led Tampa Bay receivers, 4 catches, 49 yards on 5 targets, averaged 12.3 yards per catch. Mike Evans, 5 for 43 and a touchdown on 12 targets, 8.6 yards per catch. Jarrett, 1 catch, 41 yards on 2 targets. Chris Godwin, 6 for 39 on 7 targets, 6.5 yards per catch. White, 6 for 28 yards on 7 targets, 4.7 a catch. Palmer, 4 for 22 yards on 6 targets, 5.5 yards per reception. And Durham, 2 for 13 yards on 2 targets, averaging 6.5 per catch. McLaughlin, no field goals attempted, 2 for 2 on extra points. Camarda, 3 punts, 48 yards average. Longest was 56, 1 punt inside the 20. Antoine Winfield had 9 tackles to lead the Tampa Bay D. Levante David, 7 tackles and a sack. Vita Vea, 4 tackles and a sack. Diaby, 4 tackles and 2 sacks. Meriwether, 2 tackles. Dennis, Dean, White, and Delaney also had 2 tackles for the Bucks. Okay, total yards, 420 for the 49ers, 287 for the Buccaneers. Passing yards, 305 to 221 for San Francisco. And rushing yards is 115 to 66 to San Francisco. Time of possession is 30 minutes, 51 seconds for the Niners and 29 minutes, 9 seconds for the Buccaneers. Both teams finished with 22 first downs. All right, third down, 7 of 14 for the Bucks and 4 for 10 for the Niners. Fourth downs, Tampa Bay 1 for 3, San Francisco 0 for 1. As far as penalties, 3 for 19 yards for Tampa, 7 for 66 for San Francisco. Both teams were sacked 4 times. The Bucks lost 25 yards while the Niners lost 28. Tampa Bay did lose a fumble, throw an interception, and both teams had 3 punts. Okay. Closing line, San Francisco minus 14, over-unders 41.5. I took the Niners both straight up and against the spread. Again, my against the spread picks were horrendous this week. Okay, next up, you got the New York Jets losing to the Buffalo Bills 32-6. There we go. Get the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. Really? Finally. Okay, individual numbers for the Bills. We'll start with them. Josh Allen, 20 of 32, 275, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 108.2 passer rating, 5 rushes for 15 yards, 3 a carry. James Cook, 17 carries, 73 yards, 4.3 yards per run. Latavius Murray, 10 for 35, averaging 3.5. Johnson, 3 for 11, averaging 3.7. Okay. Shakir led the Bills with 3 catches for 115 yards and a TD on 4 targets, averaged 38.3 yards per catch. Johnson, 3 for 47 and a touchdown on 3 targets, 15.7 yards per catch. Dalton Kincaid, 6 catches, 46 yards on 7 targets, averaged 7.7 yards per grab. James Cook, 3 for 29 and a touchdown on 4 targets, 9.7 yards a catch. And Stephon Diggs, 4 for 27 on 8 targets, averaged 6.8 yards per catch. Tyler Bass, 4 for 4 on field goals. His longest was 50. And 2 for 3 on extra points. Martin had 3 punts, averaged 34.7 yards per punt. His longest was 39, and 1 punt inside the 20. All right, on to the Bills defense. Dotson had 6 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. Neal, 4 tackles. Leonard Floyd, 3 tackles, 2.5 sacks. Ed Oliver, 3 tackles and a sack. Bernard, 2 tackles, half a sack. Douglas, 2 tackles, 3 passes defensed, and 2 interceptions. And Gilliam, 2 tackles and a forced fumble for the Bills. As for the Jets now, Zach Wilson, 7 of 15, 81 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 57.9 passer rating. I think this is Tim. Okay, what's taking you so long? It's either Timmy Boyd or Tom. It's Tim Boyd. Yeah, fun with that, Jets. Tim Boyd, Boyle, I should say. 7 of 14, 33 yards, no touchdowns and interception. Look at that QB rating, 26.5. Morstead, 1 for 1 for 18 yards, 118.8 quarterback rating. Brees Hall, 10 for 23 yards, 2.3 yards per run. Zach Wilson, 4 for 15, 3.8 yards per run. Dalvin Cook, 2 for 13 yards, 6.5 yards per run. Okay. Brees Hall, 5 catches, 50 yards, a touchdown on 6 targets, 10 yards a catch. 3 for 25 on 4 targets, 8.3 average. Conklin, 2 for 18 on 3 targets, 9 yards per catch. Echols, 1 for 8 yards on 1 target. Garrett Wilson, 2 for 9 yards on 8 targets, 4.5 yards a catch. Gibson, 1 for 7 on 2 targets. And that now pretty much close it down for the Jets. No kicking stats for Thomas Morstead at 6 punts, averaged 49.5 yards per punt. Longest was 56, with 1 touchback and 1 punt inside the 20-yard line. Okay. On to the defense. Reed led the Jets with 9 tackles. Williams, 6 tackles. Whitehead also had 6 tackles. Adams, 4 tackles. Johnson, 3 tackles. Echols, 3 tackles and 1 pass defense. Clemens, 3 tackles. Williams, 2 tackles and a sack. Okay. Total yards, 393 for the Bills, 155 for the Jets. Buffalo outgained New York, both passing and rushing. Passing yards were 263 to 92 for the Bills, and rushing is 130 to 63 for the Bills. Time of possession, 36 minutes and 51 seconds for Buffalo, 23 minutes, 9 seconds for the Jets. First downs favored Buffalo, 22 to 14. Okay. Third downs, Bills 5 for 13, Jets 0 for 11. Ouch. Fourth downs, Bills 1 for 1, Jets 4 for 5. Penalties, 5 for 35 yards for the Jets. They were sacked 6 times, losing 40 yards with 2 lost fumbles, 2 interceptions, and 6 punts. Buffalo Bills, 8 penalties, 77 yards. They were sacked just once, losing yards. No fumbles lost, 1 interception thrown, and 3 punts. Okay. No. Closing line, Buffalo -8, over-under is 39. Took the Bills straight up, but I picked the Jets with the points for some odd reason. Come on. All right. Now we're going to look at the LA Rams on a last second field goal beat the Seattle Seahawks by a final of 17-16. And LA in the process ends a 3-game losing streak. Individual numbers off for the LA Rams. Matt Stafford, 17 of 31, 190 yards, a touchdown and an interception, 70.6 passer rating. Man, two rushes for a yard. Freeman has 17 rushes for 73, averaging 4.3 a rush. Puka Nacua, 1 for 7 yards. Henderson, 6 rushes, 1 yard, and a touchdown. Averaged just 0.2 yards per run. And that's pretty much it. All right. Puka Nacua led the receivers, 5 catches, 70 yards, and a TD on 7 targets, averaged 14 yards a catch. Henderson, 4 for 28 on 7 targets, 7 yards per catch. Benson, 2 for 24 on 2 targets, 12 yards per catch. Trammell, 3 for 23 on 6 targets, 7.7 yards a catch. Tutu Atwell and Tyler Higbee each had 1 catch for 17 yards on 3 targets. And Cooper Kupp, 1 catch, 11 yards on 1 target. Okay. Havrisik, 1 for 1 on field goals. 22 was his only field goal. And 2 for 2 on extra points. Evans, 5 punts, averaged 52.6 yards per punt. Longest was 65. 1 punt inside the 20. Lake led the LA defense with 7 tackles. Jones, 5 tackles, half a sack. Fuller and Hoch, 5 tackles. Johnson, 3 tackles and a pass defended. Kendrick, 3 tackles, 3 passes defended, 1 interception. Turner with 2 tackles. Skowronek, 2 tackles. Witherspoon, 2 tackles. Williams, 1 tackle and 1 sack. Now, individual numbers for the Seahawks. Geno Smith, 22 of 34, 233 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 94.4 passer rating. 1 rush for -1 yard. And Drew Lock came in for a little bit. He was 2 of 6 for 3 yards and an interception and a 2.8 quarterback rating. Leading rusher is Charbonnet, 15 for 47 yards, 3.1 yards per rush. Kenneth Walker, 4 for 18, 4.5 yards per rush. And that's pretty much it. As for the receivers, DK Metcalf, 5 for 94 yards and a touchdown on 9 targets, 18.8 yards per catch. Tyler Lockett, 5 for 51 yards, 10.2 yards per catch on 7 targets. Jackson Smith and Jigba, 3 catches, 40 yards, 13.3 yards per catch on 6 targets. Charbonnet, 6 catches, 22 yards on 6 targets, 3.7 yards per grab. And DJ Dallas, 1 catch, 10 yards on 1 target. Okay, Myers finished 3 for 4 on field goals. Longest was 54. 1 for 1 on extra points. Dixon, 4 punts, averaging 50.5 yards per. Longest was 62 with 2 punts inside the 20-yard line. Quandre Diggs led the Seahawks defense with 8 tackles. Bobby Wagner, 6 tackles. Witherspoon, 5 tackles, a sack, and a pass defense. Love, 5 tackles and a pass defense. Williams and Brown each with 2 tackles. Woolen, 2 tackles, 2 passes defense, 1 interception. And Reed, 1 tackle and 1 pass defense. All right, total yards. 291 for the Seahawks and 267 for the Rams. So both teams held under 300. Passing yards, 223, 185 Seattle. Rushing yards, 82 to 68 for LA. Time of possession, Seahawks 32 minutes, 6 seconds. Rams 27 minutes, 54 seconds. First downs, Rams 20, Seahawks 16. Okay. Third down, Seattle 5 for 15, LA 2 for 9. Fourth downs, Hawks 2 for 2, Rams 0 for 1. And there were a bunch of penalties on both sides. 12 for 130 for the Seahawks. They were sacked twice, losing 13 yards with 1 interception and 4 punts. The Rams had 9 penalties for 92 yards, sacked once for 5 yards with 1 interception and 5 punts. Closing line was LA. Really? There. Closing line is LA minus 2.5. Over under is 45.5. I took the Hawks both straight up and against the spread. Okay, this now brings us to Sunday Night Football. As the Denver Broncos edge out the Minnesota Vikings by a final of 21-20. All right, individual numbers for the Broncos. Russell Wilson, 27 of 35, 259, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 106.7 passer rating, 2 rushes for 1 yard. Williams, 11 for 37 yards, 3.4 yards per run. And Samaje P. ran once for 7. McLaughlin, 1 run for 1 yard. Leading receivers were Cortland. Really? Took you long enough. Cortland Sutton, 4 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown on 5 targets, 16.5 yards per catch. Samaje P. Ryan, 7 catches, 60 yards on 7 targets, 8.6 yards per grab. Jerry Jeudy, 5 catches, 58 yards targets, 11.6 yards per catch. Troutman, 2 for 33 yards on 2 targets, 10.5 yards per catch. Will Lutz, 5 for 5 on field goals. Longest was 52, and no extra points attempted. Dixon, 4 punts. Oh my God. Let's start with me. .3 yards for punt. Longest was 68. And 1 touchback. Really? Okay. Singleton led the Broncos defense with 11 tackles. Kareem Jackson had 6. Josie Jewell, 5 tackles. Allen, 3 tackles. Simmons, 3 tackles, 3 passes defended. Surtain, 3 tackles, and 1 pass defended. Browning, 3 tackles, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. Cooper, 2 tackles, 1 sack. Jones, 2 tackles, and 1 forced fumble. To the Minnesota Vikings. Josh Dobbs, a.k.a. the Pastronaut. 20 of 32, 221, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 80.3 passer rating. 8 rushes, 21 yards, and a rushing touchdown, 2.6 yards per run. Madison, 18 carries, 81 yards, 4.5 yards per run. Chandler, 10 for 73, 7.3 yards per run. TJ Hawkinson is the... I'm tired of them doing that to me. TJ Hawkinson, 4 catches, 55 yards on 7 targets, 13.8 yards per catch to pace the Vikings receivers. Oliver, 4 for 47 and a touchdown on 4 targets, 11.8 yards per catch. Addison, 3 for 44 yards, 6 targets, 14.7 yards per catch. Chandler, 4 for 37, 9.3 yards per catch on 4 targets. Brandon Powell, 3 for 32 yards, 10.7 yards per catch on 4 targets. Joseph, 2 for 2 on field goals. Longest was 34. 2 for 2 on extra points. Wright, 2 punts, 47.5 average. Long was 48. 2 touchbacks. Pace had 6 tackles and a forced fumble, leading the way for the Vikings. 5 tackles. Blackman, 5 tackles. Harrison Smith with 4 tackles. Metellus, 3 tackles and a pass defended. Wanham, 2 tackles and a sack. Hunter, 2 tackles and a sack as well for the Vikings. All right. Total yards, 385 for the Vikings, 295 for the Broncos. Passing yards, 249, 210. Advantage Denver. Rushing yards, big edge to the Vikings, 175 to 46. Time of possession, 34 minutes, 58 seconds for the Vikings, 25 minutes, 2 seconds for the Broncos. First downs, 19 to 13 for Minnesota. Third downs, Vikings 6 for 15. Broncos 2 for 12. Fourth down, Vikings 3 for 4. Broncos 1 for 1. Penalties, Minnesota 6 for 55. They were sacked twice, losing 11 yards. 2 lost fumbles, 1 interception, and 2 punts. And Denver, 4 penalties for 48 yards. They were sacked twice, losing 10 yards and 4 punts. Closing line, Denver minus 2.5. Over under is 43. Took Denver straight up and with the point and against the spread. I won the straight up pick, but as you see the theme here, the ATS pick. And finally, the Super Bowl 57 rematch on Monday Night Football, which sees the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Final score of 21 to 17. Okay, individual numbers for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, 14 of 22 for 150. No touchdowns, 1 interception, 64.6 passer rating. 12 rushes, 29 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, 2.4 yards per run. DeAndre Swift, 12 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, 6.3 yards per run. Devontae Smith, 6 catches, 99 yards, 16.5 yards per catch on 8 targets. DeAndre Swift, 3 for 31 yards on 3 targets, 10.3 yards per catch. A.J. Brown was held to just 1 catch for 8 yards on 4 targets. Julio Jones, 2 for 5 yards, 2.5 yards per catch on 2 targets. Okay. Jake Elliott, no field goals attempted, 3 for 3 on extra points. Braden Mann, 7 punts, 47.7 yards per punt, longest 63. And 1 punt inside the 20. Kevin Byard, 8 tackles, 2 passes defensed, and 1 intercept pacing this Philly defense. Blankenship, 7 tackles. Cunningham, 6 tackles and a pass defended. Roby, 5 tackles and a forced fumble. Morrow, Williams, and Brown, each with 4 tackles. Darius Big Play Slay, 4 tackles, 2 passes defense. And Hassan Reddick, 2 tackles, and a sack. For the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, 24 for 43, 177, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Quarterback rating of 71.6. 6 rushes, 38 yards, 6.3 yards per run. Isaiah Pacheco, 19 for 89, 4.7 yards per run. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 2 for 20 yards, 10 yards per run. Watson led the Chiefs receivers, 5 catches, 53 yards, and a touchdown on 11 targets, 10.6 yards per catch. Travis Kelce, 7 for 44 and a touchdown, 9 targets, 6.3 yards per catch. Rashid Rice, 4 catches, 42 yards, 5 targets, 10.5 yards per catch. Mecole Hardman and Kadarius Toney, each with 2 catches for 12 yards on 2 targets, averaging 6 yards per catch each. Okay. Harrison Butker, 1 for 1 on field goals, hitting from 43, 2 for 2 on extra points. Thompson, 6 tackles, or Townsend, 6 tackles, 42.7 yards per punt. 6 punts, 42.7 yards per punt. Longest was 55, and 1 touchback. Okay. Reed led the KC defense with 7 tackles. Drew Tranquil, 5 tackles. Chris Jones, 5 tackles, 2 sacks. McDuffie, 4 tackles, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 pass defensed. Chenal, Edwards, and Gay each with 3 tackles apiece. L'Jarius Sneed, 2 tackles, 2 passes defense, 1 interception. And George Karlaftis, 2 tackles and a sack. Okay. All right. Total yards, 336 for KC, 238 for Philly. 168 yards passing to 124 for the Chiefs. 168 yards rushes, 114. That's also advantage to the Chiefs. Time of possession, 32 minutes, 1 second for Kansas City, and 27 minutes, 59 seconds for Philly. Kansas City 23, Philadelphia 16. Third downs, Eagles 3 for 11, Chiefs 8 for 17. Fourth downs, Chiefs 2 for 3, Eagles 0 for 0. Penalties, 7 for 61 yards for the Eagles. They were sacked 5 times, losing 26 yards with an interception and 7 punts. And the Chiefs, 7 penalties for 55 yards, sacked once for 9 yards, 1 lost fumble, 1 interception, and 6 punts. Oh. Closing line, Kansas City minus 2.5. And the over-under is 46. And for once, I got both of these picks right. So, my straight-up picks were good. But my picks against the spread, not so much. I ended up going 10-4 in my straight-up picks. I wound up going 10-4 in my straight-up picks. But 2-11-1, that's it. As far as my picks against the spread. Rough week in that area. Oh man, let's start this. Okay. Getting ESPN's website up right now. On NFL. Okay, while we're waiting on this on ESPN to get up on my computer, let me go through my Week 12 power rankings. All right, down at number 32, where they rightfully belong, the Carolina Panthers. The Arizona Cardinals stay at number 31. The New York Giants move to number 30. The New England Patriots stay at 29. Followed by the Chicago Bears at 28. The Washington Commanders at 27. The Las Vegas Raiders move down to 26. Green Bay Packers are up to number 25. The LA Rams also moving up, number 24. Then you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers still at 23, the Tennessee Titans at 22, and the New York Jets at 21. The LA Chargers are down to number 20. The Indianapolis Colts move up to 19. The Atlanta Falcons move up to 18. The Minnesota Vikings are down to 17. The New Orleans Saints stay put at number 16. At 15, you've got the Denver Broncos. Dropping to number 14 are the Cincinnati Bengals. Up to number 13 are the Buffalo Bills. Number 12 is the Pittsburgh Steelers, still in the same spot. Down to 11 are the Seattle Seahawks. Number 10 is the Houston Texans, up 3 spots from last week. The Miami Dolphins hold steady at 9. The Cleveland Browns move up to number 8. Jacksonville Jaguars are at 7. The Dallas Cowboys are at number 6, up a spot from last week. The Niners and Lions flip-flop spots. The Lions moved down to number 5, while the 49ers moved up to number 4. The Kansas City Chiefs slipped to number 3, putting the Baltimore Ravens at number 2. And the Philadelphia Eagles remain at the top. Okay. And we have one more thing to look at tonight, and that is the playoff races in the NBA. Just waiting on this to populate. My computer is slow. Okay. Okay, here we go. Now we can look at the updated playoff races in the NFL going into week number 12, starting as always in the AFC. The Buffalo Bills, or not the Buffalo Bills, but rather the Baltimore Ravens are atop the conference at 8-3. 3-2 versus the North, 5-3 in the conference. 541 strength of schedule, 519 strength of victory. In the number 2 spot, you got the Kansas City Chiefs, 7-3, 2-1 versus the West, 5-1 in the conference, 569 strength of schedule, 500 strength of victory. Number 3 is the Jacksonville Jaguars, also a 7-3, 3-1 versus the South, 5-2 in the conference, 531 strength of schedule, and 479 strength of victory. And then in the 4th spot, Miami Dolphins, 7-3, 2-1 versus the East, 5-2 in the conference, 427 strength of schedule, 306 strength of victory. All right, 5 through 7 would be your 3 wild cards, and as of right now, the Cleveland Browns would be the number 5 team at 7-3, 3-2 versus the North, 5-2 in the conference, 544 strength of schedule, 500 strength of victory. The 6th seed as of right now would be the Houston Texans, 6-4, 1-1 versus the South, 3-2 in the conference, 461 strength of schedule, 475 strength of victory. And the 7th and final playoff spot would go to the Pittsburgh Steelers at 6-4. 2-1 versus the North, 4-3 in the conference, 569 strength of schedule, 500 strength of victory. On the outside of the playoffs, you have the 8th-seeded Buffalo Bills, 6-5, 2-2 versus the East, 3-5 in the conference, 442 strength of schedule, 429 strength of victory. They got the Indianapolis Colts, Denver Broncos, and Cincinnati Bengals all at 5-5. Indy is 2-2 versus the South, 4-3 in the conference, 495 strength of schedule, 392 strength of victory. The Broncos are 1-2 out west, 2-4 in the conference, 505 strength of schedule, 491 strength of victory. And the Bengals are 0-3 up north, 1-5 in the conference, 548 strength of schedule, 481 strength of victory. In 12th, the Las Vegas Raiders, 5-6, 1-1 versus the West, 3-4 in the conference, 460 strength of schedule, and 353 strength of victory. The Chargers and Jets are tied at 4-6. LA is 1-1 versus the West, 2-3 in the conference, 524 strength of schedule, 419 strength of victory. While New York is 1-2 versus the East, 2-5 versus the conference, 519 strength of schedule, 548 strength of victory. 15th is the Tennessee Titans, 3-7, 0-2 in the South, 2-5 versus the conference, 545 strength of schedule, 433 strength of victory. And number 16 is the New England Patriots, 2-8 record, 2-2 versus the East, 2-4 in the conference, 573 strength of schedule, 476 strength of victory. Now let's read off these AFC tiebreakers. Kansas City wins the tiebreaker over both Miami and Jacksonville based on a head-to-head sweep. Jacksonville wins the tiebreaker over Miami based on strength of victory. Houston owns the tiebreaker over Pittsburgh based on head-to-head win percentage. Indianapolis owns the tiebreaker over both Cincinnati and Denver based on best win percentage in conference. Denver wins the tiebreaker over Cincinnati based on best win percentage in conference games. The LA Chargers own the tiebreaker over the Jets based on head-to-head win percentage. And then that brings us to the NFC. The Philadelphia Eagles are the top seed right now at 9-1. The 2 seed is the Detroit Lions at 8-2. 3 seed is the San Francisco 49ers at 7-3. 4 seed is the New Orleans Saints at 5-5. 5 seed is the Dallas Cowboys at 7-3. 6 seed is the Seattle Seahawks, 6-4. And 7 is the Minnesota Vikings, 5-5. Okay, so Eagles are 3-0 versus the East, 6-0 in the conference, 476 strength of schedule, 484 strength of victory. The Lions are 2-0 in the North, 5-1 in the conference, 447 strength of schedule, 390 strength of victory. 49ers are 2-0 out west, 5-1 in the conference, 495 strength of schedule, 458 strength of victory. Saints are 1-1 down south, 2-3 in the conference, 402 strength of schedule, but a very low strength of victory of 275. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys, 2-1 in the East, 4-3 in the conference, 379 strength of schedule, 292 strength of victory. Seahawks are 1-2 in the West, 5-2 overall in the conference, 442 strength of schedule, 397 strength of victory. And the Minnesota Vikings, 2-0 up in the North, 6-2 versus the conference. 477 strength of schedule, 393 strength of victory. On the outside of the playoffs looking in, you have the Green Bay Packers, LA Rams, Atlanta Falcons, and Tampa Bay Buccaneers all sitting for. Green Bay is 1-2 versus the North, 3-3 in the conference, 485 strength of victory. LA is 3-1 in the West, 3-4 in the conference, 564 strength of schedule, 463 strength of victory. Atlanta 2-0 versus the South, 3-4 in the conference, 37 strength of schedule, 375 strength of victory. And Tampa Bay is 1-1 versus the South, 3-4 versus the conference, 553 strength of schedule, 405 strength of victory. Number 12 is the Washington Commanders at 4-7, 0-4 versus the East, 2-6 versus the conference, 452 strength of schedule, 317 strength of victory. Then you got tied for 13th with the Giants and Bears, both at 3-8. 3 the NFC, 513 strength of schedule, 303 strength of victory. Chicago is 0-3 in the North and 2-5 in the conference, 469 strength of schedule, 313 strength of victory, which is pretty bad. 15 is the Arizona Cardinals at 2-9, 0-3 versus the West, 2-5 in the conference, 540 strength of schedule, 550 strength of victory. And at number 16, the Carolina Panthers at 1-9, 0-2 versus the South, 0-7 in the conference, 559 strength of schedule, 600 strength of victory. Okay, now let's take a look at all these tiebreakers, which is not. Green Bay wins the tiebreaker over both the Falcons and Rams based on best win percentage in conference games. The divisional tiebreak was initially used to eliminate Tampa Bay. Atlanta wins the tiebreak over Tampa based on head-to-head win percentage. LA wins the tiebreaker over Atlanta based on strength of victory. The division tiebreak was initially used to eliminate Tampa. Atlanta wins the tiebreak over Tampa Bay based on head-to-head win percentage. And I've already said that, so we'll just move to this last one. That's the New York Giants, who owns the tiebreaker over Chicago based on best win percentage in conference games. Okay, folks, that is it for the Week 11 edition of the week that was. I'll be back tomorrow to record a couple more. I have my Week 12 picks. I also have the Week 13 college football schedule and the college football playoff rankings. I'll do all of that tomorrow, so join me for every last one. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.